Tomorrow afternoon, every air conditioner disappears. No cold air from the wall, no thermostat number, no sealed room pretending summer is outside. By 3 o'clock, your home is no longer just a home. It is a heat trap. You might think the answer is simple. Fans, shade, water, open windows, and yes, those mattered. But before air conditioning, cooling was not one trick. The house had to do the work. Before AC, the house had to keep you cool. Cooling was not one machine doing one job. It was shade, airflow, walls, water, clothing, rest, and schedule, all working at the same time. Start before the heat gets inside. Modern air conditioning lets a room forgive a bad afternoon. Older cooling systems tried to keep the afternoon from winning in the first place. The best heat was the heat that never entered. This sounds almost too simple, but it changes the whole story. A modern room can wait until heat is already inside, then spend electricity pushing it back out. The older house had to be more suspicious. It had to ask, where will the sun strike first? Which wall will turn hot? Which window will act like a little furnace? Which room will still be usable when the afternoon arrives? Cooling began as prediction, so buildings learned to make shade. A porch was not only a place to sit. An awning was not decoration. It was a small roof for the window. Shutters could turn bright glass into a dark wall. Trees could throw a second roof over the first one. Overhangs, verandas, courtyards, blinds, screens, and deep windows all had the same basic job. Stop the sun before the wall and the window turn into heaters. That is the first old technology of cooling. Not cold air. Refusal. The house refuses some of the heat before it becomes a problem. In some climates, heavy walls help too. Stone, brick, earth, and thick masonry could slow the daily heat wave. They did not make a house cold by magic. They changed the timing. Heat that might rush into a thin room could be delayed, spread out, or released later. That mattered most where days and nights moved differently enough for the building to recover. This is why there is no single pre-AC house. A hot, dry place, a humid coast, a mountain town, and a dense city did not have the same manual. The old system was always local. But the principle was simple. Keep the sun off the room. Keep the roof from cooking the people below it. Keep the hottest air from being trapped where bodies need to breathe. If you have ever walked into an attic in summer, you already understand this. Heat has a geography. It gathers under roofs. It sits against certain walls. It waits in rooms that have no path out. The old manual was partly a map of where not to be. Then came the second job. Move the air. One open window is a hope. 2 openings can become a path. A house with air paths is different from a sealed box. The difference is not just comfort, it is geometry. Air needs an entrance, air needs an exit, and those 2 points need to be arranged so the room becomes part of a route. Windows on opposite sides can pull a breeze across a room. High openings can let warm air rise out. Courtyards can give air a place to turn. Tall ceilings can move the hottest layer farther above your head. In some regions, wind towers or wind catchers rose above the roofline to guide moving air down into the building. This was not universal. Climate mattered, but it shows the larger pattern. Before the machine pushed cold air into a room, the building tried to catch moving air from the world. Air conditioning makes the room the center. Older cooling made the room part of a larger system. The room borrowed wind. It borrowed night air. It borrowed shade from a tree or a neighboring wall. It borrowed the temperature difference between lower openings and higher openings. The building was not alone. It was connected to weather. Air could carry heat away from the building. A breeze across skin could help sweat evaporate. A fan did not create cold air. The thermometer might stay the same, but the body felt relief. Water lived inside the old system too. A shaded courtyard with water. A mat, jar, fountain, wetted surface, or damp cloth in a dry place. Evaporation could borrow heat from the air and the body. But humidity changes the story. When the air is already heavy with moisture, sweat and evaporation have less room to work. So the old manual keeps repeating the same warning. Climate matters. This is why a list of old cooling tricks can mislead us. The same trick can be brilliant in one place and almost useless in another. A thick wall can help when nights cool enough to release stored heat. A damp surface can help when dry air has room to take moisture. A breeze can help when it actually moves across the body. But a still, humid, crowded room changes the rules. The old system was not a universal recipe. It was a negotiation with local physics. The third job was even more human. Move the day. Before air conditioning, summer was not only a temperature, it was a schedule. You opened the house early when the outside air was kinder. You closed shades before the sun hit the glass. You moved heavy work away from the worst hours when you could. You cooked differently, or cooked somewhere heat would not punish the room. You slept where the air moved. You sat on porches under trees, near windows in courtyards on roofs, or in the cooler part of the house. The home was not just shelter, it was a daily heat strategy. Think about what that means for ordinary life. Morning is not just morning, it is the time to open, sweep, carry, walk, buy, cook, or finish the thing that will be miserable later. Noon is not just noon, it is the dangerous red part of the day, the hour when a task can become too expensive for the body. Evening is not just evening, it is recovery, when walls, streets, and people finally try to give the day back. In a house without mechanical cooling, the day has rooms inside it. Clothing mattered, so did water, so did rest, so did knowing which wall would be cruel at 4 o'clock. A modern thermostat hides those little negotiations. But before AC, people had to read the building like weather. That reading was practical knowledge. Which window opens first? Which door should stay shut? Which room holds heat after sunset? Where does the breeze actually cross the body? Not just the wall. Which chore has to happen before the kitchen turns against you? This is not nostalgia. It is labor. It is attention. It is a set of small decisions repeated every hot day. But there is a caveat. Surviving is not the same as being comfortable. And comfortable is not the same as safe. Heat has always been dangerous, especially for people doing physical work, people without shade, people in dense housing, older adults, pregnant people, and anyone whose body or job gives them less room to adapt. The old system was not romantic. It was unequal, exhausting, and sometimes deadly. Passive cooling did not erase heat. It negotiated with heat. That difference matters. It also matters who gets to negotiate. A shaded porch helps if you have one. A cooler room helps if there is another room to choose. Moving work away from the hottest hours helps if your work allows it. Rest helps if rest is permitted. Water helps if water is nearby. The old heat system was shaped by money, housing, labor, age, health, and power. So both truths have to stay together. People had real systems for living with heat, and those systems did not make heat fair. Air conditioning became powerful because it changed the negotiation. It moved cooling from the whole building into a box. The thermostat compresses the old system into one number. Shade, air paths, timing, water, rest, clothing, room choice, and building shape all collapse into a click. A sealed office can ignore the afternoon. A glass building can depend on machines to fight the heat it lets in. A bedroom can stay the same temperature while the street outside changes hour by hour. This was not a small invention. It changed comfort, it changed architecture, it changed work, it changed where people could live, sleep, shop, and spend the hottest part of the day. Once cooling could be purchased as equipment, buildings could be designed with less humility. Windows could be sealed, glass could spread, deep shade could become optional. The daily schedule could become less visible. That did not mean the weather disappeared. It meant the work of fighting weather moved into ducts, coils, compressors, power grids, bills, and maintenance. The old system did not vanish. It was hidden inside infrastructure. The point is not that the old way was better. The point is that the machine made an old human skill almost invisible. Before air conditioning, a cool room was not just delivered. It was designed, shaded, opened, closed, timed, watered, and lived around. The air conditioner did not just cool the room. It let buildings forget the weather.